Melania Trump was just sued in the Supreme Court of the state of New York by Michael Wolff, renowned author who has reported on Donald Trump before as Trump's former biographer. He was spoken to by Jeffrey Epstein about potentially being Epstein's biographer, and had spent hours and hours speaking with Epstein. And Michael Wolff has published works about Donald Trump that I'm sure you've all read and know about. We've had Michael Wolff on our network before, and Michael Wolff has reported, and he's spoken to reporters about what's been going on behind the scenes.
Several days ago, I was notified by lawyers for the First Lady that they intend to sue me for $1 billion for some of those statements.
The president of Poland had the misfortune to visit in the middle of Hurricane Epstein. As you probably know, Republicans forced an early recess over the summer to avoid having to vote on whether to release the Epstein files, which many of them do not want to do because it would upset Orange Julius Caesar bigly. So
when Jimmy Kimmel joked that Trump would release Diddy before he ever releases the Epstein files, it got a laugh. But when Michael Wolff walked into a Manhattan courthouse this week, the joke suddenly didn't sound so funny anymore. Because Wolff didn't just call out the Trump machine. He dragged the First Lady into court, under oath, with a $1 billion bombshell that could crack open the most guarded vault in American politics. Subscribe if you support Jimmy Kimmel and Michael Wolff.
All right, guys, we got yet another Trump Epstein bombshell to share here with you. So Michael Wolff blows the lid off this, and this is something that we know Melania doesn't want out there because she's threatening lawsuits, dog. She threatened to sue Hunter Biden for repeating the claim that originally came from Michael Wolff. And the claim was that Epstein introduced Trump and Melania. So she threatened to sue, right? And Hunter Biden came out on Andrew Callahan's show, Channel 5, and he said, fuck you, I'm not retracting it. This is from Michael Wolff. And there's a reason why, by the way, they didn't sue Michael Wolff, because Michael Wolff, if they sued Michael Wolff, all this shit would come out in discovery. You know, he has his sources, he has his evidence, and so instead of going after the original person who said it, they're going after Hunter for repeating it, thinking, oh, hey, that'll help us, like, get around discovery, and this stuff won't come directly from Michael Wolff. I'm sure Hunter would work with Michael Wolff, and Michael Wolff would work with Hunter, and all that shit would come out anyway.
If you believe that laughter and litigation can both expose the truth, hit like right now, because this one's about to get messy. Here's the setup. On October 22nd, author Michael Wolff, the same man who wrote Fire and Fury and Siege, filed a lawsuit in New York Supreme Court preemptively suing Melania Trump, not Donald, Melania. The reason? Wolff says Melania's lawyers threatened to sue him for over $1 billion over comments he made linking her indirectly to Jeffrey Epstein.
they kicked the can in the hopes that, I don't know, we'd be hit by a tidal wave or something and it would wash away, but it didn't wash away. So they tried another dumb idea. Again, this time the House Oversight Committee released some of the Epstein files, around 33,000 pages of the Epstein files, the vast majority of which had already been released. You would think that of all the cases, the one for Jeffrey Epstein would get a full release, but no.
And Michael Wolff has reported, and he's spoken to reporters about what's been going on behind the scenes as Donald Trump is covering up the Epstein files, which we all know is taking place right now in plain view. And it's one of the reasons that our freaking government is shut down right now as they're trying to stop Adelita Grijalva, who would be the 218 signatures, the Democratic Congresswoman-elect from Arizona, 7th Congressional District, from signing the discharge petition to release the Epstein files. So here's what went down. Melania Trump sent a threatening demand letter to Michael Wolff, where she misrepresented a bunch of statements that Michael Wolff had previously made, both on Instagram, as well as statements that the Daily Beast then put into articles. Again, it was kind of half statements. It didn't fully give the full context of what Wolff was saying.
So instead of waiting to get sued, Wolff sued first. He's asking a New York judge to rule that his statements are protected opinion under the First Amendment, and that Melania's legal threats are an attempt to silence criticism through intimidation. That's not just clever, it's chess. Because by filing in New York, Wolff's using the state's anti-SLAPP law, one of the toughest in the country. It punishes people who try to use massive lawsuits to muzzle public commentary.
But a demand letter was sent to Michael Wolff. The letter was sent on October 15, 2025. We have a copy of the letter here. It says, "Dear Mr. Wolff, this law firm represents is litigation counsel for the First Lady of the United States of America, Melania Trump, hereinafter Mrs. Trump." And then it goes on to say that we believe you've engaged in defamations. And it goes into, here's the article's defamatory statements, and they list in the article. And they go, "You said Melania Trump is very involved in the Epstein scandal. You've said First Lady Melania could be the missing link in Trump's ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein." I'm reading from the letter right now that this guy Alejandro Brito sent to Wolff. C. Melania was very involved in Epstein's social circle and noted that this is how she met Trump. D. She introduced by a model agency, both of whom Trump and Epstein are involved with. She was introduced to Trump that way. Epstein knew her well. Then it goes on to cite other Instagram posts where it says that you said, Wolff, that Epstein told you that Trump and Melania got together for the first time on Epstein's airplane, and that Melania met Trump through the same modeling circles through which Epstein and Trump procured dates. You said, Wolff, this sham marriage, trophy marriage, hardly any marriage at all is part of the scam. Then it makes a very specific demand. It says you need to apologize, you need to issue a retraction, you need to do this all in public. And it says, please govern yourself accordingly, Wolff.
If the court agrees with Wolff, Melania's team could end up paying his legal fees instead of collecting a penny from him. It's a legal boomerang. Hit him, and it hits you back harder. Now, here's where it gets nuclear. Wolff's filing doesn't just mention Epstein. It calls the lawsuit threat, an effort to suppress discussion of the Epstein-Trump social overlap that's been tiptoed around for years. You've seen the photos. Trump and Epstein together at Mar-a-Lago, the flight logs, the quotes. It's not new.
Now, there was some new information in the documents. Contrary to what Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi said, there was video of that missing minute of security footage shot outside Epstein's cell. That footage somehow this footage got re-edited more times than the Zack Snyder Justice League cut. And it's a big problem for Trump because the push to release the names isn't just coming from the left. This is a bipartisan effort. It's coming from inside the House. Hardcore conspiracy theorists have joined arms with Democrats to push for a vote on this. Here's where we stand right now. The majority of Republicans, including this human ottoman, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, do not want to release the files. They say it would be dangerously irresponsible to do that. The people who are trying to eliminate the measles vaccine believe it would be dangerously irresponsible to release these files. But a handful of Republicans...
But the timing is explosive. Because Wolff's move means if Melania follows through and countersues, discovery kicks in. And discovery means lawyers can subpoena witnesses, emails, and records to prove or disprove claims. But let's stay factual. That doesn't mean every Epstein file gets dumped online. Courts limit discovery to what's relevant. They can issue protective orders to keep sensitive material sealed. Still, relevance cuts both ways. If Trump's social ties to Epstein touch the truth or falsity of Wolff's comments.
So, on the deadline that was given for, I guess, Michael Wolff to govern himself accordingly, Michael Wolff sued Melania in New York Supreme Court, which is their trial court. We have the lawsuit right here, verified complaint for declaratory judgment and damages under New York's anti-SLAPP statute, strategic lawsuit against free speech, basically, against public policy, where Michael Wolff saying, I'm reporting on the facts that I know. I'm an author who has a First Amendment right. And then Michael Wolff goes through each of the allegations that are being made and says, first off, you're providing incomplete or kind of erroneous context to what I actually said. And then there's opinion protections. One of the protections is truth and being truthful about it. And Wolff sued Melania Trump for this declaratory relief action under anti-SLAPP law in New York. And it basically says, look, by you, Alejandro Brito, on behalf of Melania Trump, sending these demand letters and making these threats to chill my speech, I've now had to hire an attorney. I'm incurring costs. This is a First Amendment right that I have to report on these facts. So I want a declaratory relief action. I want the court here in New York to say that what I'm doing is protected under New York's anti-SLAPP statute, which provides strong First Amendment protections to reporters and to journalists and to authors. I want attorney's fees as a result of what's happened, and I want discovery. And a major part of this lawsuit filed by Michael Wolff says, by her threat letter and this responsive declaratory and related anti-SLAPP action, Mrs. Trump has given Wolff subpoena power, which he intends to exercise fully and expeditiously. Since the statements at issue pertain to matters that largely occurred here in New York City, this action will call for and permit subpoenas to numerous witnesses, most of them in New York. Subpoenas will go to those who frequented or who were in part of Epstein's circle, including Mr. Trump.
Parts of those records could theoretically come into play. That's why this case has everyone in Trump world sweating bullets. Now enter Jimmy Kimmel. Because while Wolff's lawyers were filing motions, Kimmel was doing what he does best, mocking Trump's chaos live on ABC. A few months ago, in one of his sharpest monologues yet, Kimmel said they'll release Diddy before they release the Epstein files.
See it all. They want to know who Jeffrey Epstein's friends are, which I have to say, I know who one of them is. He looks like this. The guy, that husky one in the pink tie yes. That is a man Jeffrey Epstein described as his best friend. This guy brazenly pulled Epstein's wing woman, his personal madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, out of real prison last month and transferred her into what is basically a courtyard by Marriott. The woman who has all the information on everyone is suddenly in a prison that has Pilates class, thanks to President Trump, and nobody bats an eye about this. Today, some of the Epstein and Maxwell victims held a press conference on the steps of the Capitol to demand the release of the files and to announce that they are making their own list of men who assaulted them to release. You know, they were scared, and they're still scared to release the names, but now they have an unlikely ally from inside MAGA.
The audience lost it. It was funny because it was true. The administration keeps promising transparency, but the Epstein files remain in bureaucratic purgatory. Half redacted, half denied. Kimmel framed it perfectly, a system terrified of its own secrets. Fast forward to October 2025, Trump, rattled by questions about Wolff's filing and the Epstein chatter, goes off script in a press Q&A and makes a strange aside about Melania and all these ridiculous stories.
I want to bring in right now Michael Wolff, the plaintiff in this case, who just filed this lawsuit against Melania Trump.
Ben, how are you? Nice to see you.
Great to see you. And I think there's so many people who have seen Melania going around with these litigation threat letters. She threatened Hunter Biden and said, I'm going to sue you, but then never ended up actually suing Hunter Biden. But you've taken the extraordinary action of saying, I'm standing up for my reporting. I'm standing up for the First Amendment, and I'm suing you. So talk to us about that.
Well, I think very simply, someone had to do it. I probably would have preferred that it not be me, but, come the moment, here it is. And what they've done is obvious, and it's disgraceful in what they keep doing. And everybody throughout the media business, there's a chill, and a chill is probably the kind words. I don't think, I just sued the First Lady of the United States, a kind of, man bites dog lawsuit. It's a great story. You won't see this story, I'll bet, in the New York Times, because the New York Times is being sued by this same lawyer who is suing me. Everybody is frightened. And I thought, well, what can I do here? Obviously, I'm not going to apologize. My God. I'm not going to retract. There's virtually nothing to retract here. The truth is that anything that I have said here is mild. In fact, it's certainly not defamatory to say that someone knew someone. As a matter of fact, we have seen the pictures of them together, so this is obvious.
That night, Kimmel comes back swinging. He plays the clip, looks straight at the camera, and says he's acting like it's her fault people keep finding old photos. Maybe check who your old golf buddy was, Mr. President? The audience roars. Then Kimmel grins and adds, honestly, at this point, I'll believe in the Loch Ness Monster before I believe Trump doesn't know what's in those Epstein files. Everything was fine until Michael Wolff decided to escalate. In an interview the next day, Wolff said he's not backing down.
I also encouraged him already this morning that he should have these women in the Oval Office. They deserve to be there.
You spoke to him?
Yes, I did. And I told him I'd be happy to set that up, arranging with their attorney by sharing his phone number.
What was his reaction about?
I haven't got an answer back.
I'm sure he'll get back to you on that very, very soon. Is she that out of it that she thinks he would want to meet these women in the Oval Office? Like, sure, send them in. I'd love to say hello. I haven't seen them since they were teenagers. I can't believe I'm saying this. But good going, Marjorie Taylor Greene. According to the president, this is all another elaborate, made-up Democrat plot to distract us from the historically awesome job he is doing.
I think we're probably having, according to what I read, even from two people in this room, we're having the most successful 8 months of any president ever. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what we should be talking about, not the Epstein hoax.
We are almost at the I never met anyone named Jeffrey Epstein part of this story.
So what they're trying to do with the Epstein hoax is get people to talk about that instead of speaking about the tremendous success like ending 7 wars. I ended 7 wars.
That's a lot of wars.
If they want to make this about truth, he told reporters, then let's see all of it. That quote sent chills through Washington, because all of it could mean witnesses, deposition transcripts, emails, and the kind of cross-examination no political strategist can spin away. And if that happens, it won't just be a media circus. It'll be the kind of courtroom where history changes tone. Here's where you can add a bit of analysis. Wolff's lawsuit is less about money and more about power.
Any we may have heard of, by the way? 7 wars. Last week it was 10 wars. Now it's 7. Tomorrow it'll be 15 wars. This guy is he ended Star Wars. I don't know if you heard that. He did. Poor Mark Hamill had to move on to other things. Listen, I have an idea of how you can get people to stop talking about releasing the Epstein files. Release the Epstein files.
And then there's opinion, which is protected. This is, I've been doing this job for a very long time, and I have never been at a moment when there's a virtual guarantee of a lawsuit when you move into territory that the people in power don't want you to move into. This is not even a matter of what you said. It's the subject itself that cannot be discussed.
He knows Melania's team can't afford to open Pandora's box. If she countersues, she risks discovery into a world her husband's lawyers have spent decades keeping sealed. If she doesn't, she looks like she's backing off under pressure. Either way, Wolff wins the narrative. It's pure psychological warfare. Meanwhile, Kimmel keeps stoking the fire. Just last week, after Trump ranted about witch hunts and fake accusations, Kimmel shrugged on air and said, "You can tell how bad it is when the witches start hiring lawyers."
But she's trying her best to hide the truth. So now, Michael Wolff gives us a new bombshell revelation. Listen to this.
A new book was published yesterday in the US and UK entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. It's by a British journalist by the name of Andrew Loney. And it's about the pathetic life of Prince Andrew, but it is also about his connection to Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and Melania Trump. And in fact, it contains a passage in which Epstein is quoted, and this is from an interview apparently in 2007, where he says that he had sex with Melania a full year before Donald Trump commenced his relationship with Melania.
The crowd cracked up, but the subtext was brutal. Trump's allies are lawyering up again, and the timing couldn't be worse. Everything was fine until you realize how these two men, one comedian and one journalist, are unintentionally tag-teaming the most powerful couple in America. Wolff is doing it through the courts. Kimmel is doing it through comedy. One serving subpoenas, the other serving punchlines. But they're both exposing the same thing, a presidency that can't tell the difference between scandal and governance.
So that was like, okay, I mean, this is there is a law. There are laws against this. There are laws against what the First Lady and the President are doing. You cannot use a legal remedy to intimidate someone from speaking out. So here we are. I've sued the First Lady. And she hasn't shown up for the in any instances in any of his court appearances. And I had somebody told me the story of Jason Miller approaching her and saying, "Hey, it would be great in terms of the first indictment of you coming there and stand by your man." And then she said, then she laughed, said, "Nice try." Anyway, I was talking this through with one of the people and asking, so what's going on here? Really, what is this about? And I remember this person looked at me with incredulity, as though it should be obvious to anyone. And this person said she hates his fucking guts. And then at that moment you go, oh my God, but could this be anything else other than that?
If you love seeing power get cornered by truth, hit like right now, because this is where the story might really start. If Melania's team files that $1 billion suit, discovery becomes unavoidable. Depositions, document demands, maybe even questions under oath about who knew Epstein when and how often. And if any of that connects back to Trump or his inner circle, the implications could stretch from Manhattan courtrooms all the way to the Oval Office. Now imagine that scene, Trump on stage ranting about fake news, while Kimmel rolls the clip beside him and cracks, "Sir, this isn't fake news."
What is he hiding? There has to be something in there about it. I can't imagine him doing this because he cares about anyone else. This Epstein list, it's the first time Trump didn't want his name on something. There's a lot of speculation, naturally, including from the writer Michael Wolff, who wrote a bunch of books about Trump. Wolff floated the possibility that Trump may have had Epstein killed himself, which, listen, I know he's done a lot of things, bad things, but I don't think Donald Trump ordered a hit on Jeffrey Epstein. And the reason I don't think he ordered a hit is because if he did, he wouldn't be able to shut up about it. He was not a good guy, he's a bad guy, and now thanks to your favorite president, he's gone. I had him rubbed out. I killed two Jeffreys, Epstein and the Toys R Us giraffe. Gone. Meanwhile, all our enemies are teaming up. The president of China hosted a big military celebration with special guests Vlad Putin and Kim Jong-un. You can see them here, the axis of Dr. Evils with their labubus. They gave them all labubus.
It's discovery the crowd would lose it. But comedy aside, the stakes here are real. For years, the Epstein case has hovered over politics like a storm cloud. Every time someone gets close, the weather changes. Michael Wolff just stepped into the rain with an umbrella full of subpoenas, and Jimmy Kimmel, standing right beside him, is broadcasting the thunder. Everything was fine until the courtroom lights turn on. Then we'll see who still laughs. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to America Facticity for more breaking news.